Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss about functional programming languages. As far as OU curriculum is concerned, this is what fifth unit. So let's talk about functional programming languages. So basically the programming languages categories were imperative programming languages. There are categories and you can see the first unit for this concept. You will understand what I am teaching now. So basically the programming language categories are imperative programming languages, object oriented programming languages, logic programming languages, functional programming languages, script based programming languages. So these are what the programming languages basically. Now we are going to talk about functional programming languages. Now before I start the discussion about what is functional programming languages, let me tell you about why programming languages. Before of this functional programming languages, we are very much familiar with imperative programming languages. Imperative programming languages are C, C++, Fortran. These are what imperative programming languages. Now, the major difference in between imperative languages and functional programming languages are many differences, but the major difference I wanted to tell you, the major difference is what? When I wanted to evaluate some expression from imperative programming language. Now let's see. I wanted to take some expression which is x plus y sum by a minus b. So now this is one expression which I wanted to evaluate. What I will be doing is, for the evaluation purpose, I will be taking a third variable. That third variable, name it as z. Now I am taking this third variable. This results in an approach to problem solving that is fundamentally different from approaches used with imperative languages. And in an imperative language, an expression is evaluated and the result is stored in a memory location which is represented as a variable in the program. And this is the purpose of assignment statements. And this is necessary attention to memory cells whose values represent the state of the program results in relatively low level programming methodology. Now, when I wanted to do this kind of evaluation process in functional programming languages, then I doesn't require variables or assignment statements. Then that language belongs to pure functional programming language. Now, with this illustration, I wanted to start what is functional programming language. Why we are not required any memory cell to store the result of this evaluation. Now, let's see. Functional programming languages are, in these languages, computations are treated as evaluation of mathematical functions. I think it is clear now. Okay. These languages follows lambda calculus model, and a purely functional programming language doesn't use any kind of variable, any state, that means any kind of variable. It doesn't require any kind of variable to store the result into a memory cell. That's what, no need of any assignment statements. So we'll see how it will get evaluated with an example. So before we see an example, there is one more point what I wanted to put into your mind, and this is what the programming languages which are called as functional programming languages, which are Lisp, Schema, Haskell. Right, now look at this. There is one more difference. I told you beginning of this video that there are many differences in between imperative and functional programming language. The major difference is what? We will not use any variable or we will not have any assignment statement. That is what we learned. And the second point is, as I am telling, it is a functional programming language, instructions will be written in terms of functions. So with the knowledge of imperative, we learned about the kind of this instruction is what we wrote in function, we wrote in parentheses. Once we wrote something in parentheses, we used to tell it is a function, correct? Now, all the functional programming languages will use this parentheses to denote any kind of evaluation. Now, why the reason I do not need any variable? Because I will not consider this kind of statement as a statement. Yes, I repeat, I will not consider this kind of statement as a statement. Then how we will be doing evaluation? Yes, we will be doing evaluation, but the process of doing evaluation is what? Plus is treated as a function, not as an operator. 10 and 20 are treated as the parameters. Okay, now function is what? Plus. Addition is function. 10 comma 20 are parameters. Now what we will do is, we will be recursively call this function to apply on these parameters, and will return the result. The way how functions will work in imperative, the same way here also it will work. Function will return a value. Now this function also will return a value. Now let's see the other example. Define square of x. Square is function name, and x is what? The parameter. X into x are what? Parameters. Okay. Now that is what square of 4 we are denoting. Functional programming languages has set of primitive functions. We are using these functions to construct the complex functions. So functional programming languages will not use any kind of variable to get the result of it. Functional programming language also provides operations and different data structures to represent the data. The functional languages use the functions as like as mathematical functions. The meaning of these functions as follows. Now look at this square of x equal to x into x. Means what we are performing? Just now I told you that functions will have some mathematical functions, correct? Now square is a mathematical function. Now this is what the mathematical function which is denoting. And this x into x are what? What? Parameters. X into x are what? Parameters. So we will be evaluating all kind of evaluations, treating them as parameters, calling the function to be performed on the parameters, and will return the result. And let's see some more points about fundamentals of functional programming languages. So basically, functional programming languages are modeled on mathematical functions. In their pure form, they do not use variables, and this is what the feature of functional programming language. And assignment statements to produce the result. We were discussed this point as the first point of this lecture. Rather, they use function applications, conditional expressions, and recursion. Let's see if I have plus 2, 3, 4. Now how I'll get the result for this function? What is the return value of this function? Now, or else how it will get evaluated? Plus is what I told you? Function name. 2, 3, 4 are what? Parameters. Now, this function is going to call this function is going to call for on these are parameters, and 2 plus 3 will be treated as 5. Again function is going to be called to perform 5 plus 4, which is 9. So that means what? Function will be performed through recursion. Okay, and recursion for execution control, and functional forms to construct complex functions. And there is one more point where we have to discuss. The execution of a function always produces the same result when given the same parameters. This feature is called referential transparency. Now, let's understand this concept. If I am applying the same concept on imperative, the result will not be same. Correct? Because every evaluation, every expression evaluation will get stored into a value, one variable. And this variable can be also a parameter to the other function. So when parameter changes, obviously value will change. But referential transparency is what? Function always produces the same result when given the same parameters. This feature is not there in imperative. This feature is there in functional programming languages, and hence it is called as referential transparency. And this is what actually functional programming languages and the fundamentals of functional programming languages. So next video we'll be going to make on what do you mean by Lisp, how it performs, and schema, Haskell, the other functional programming languages. So this video we learned about what is functional programming languages and what are the features of it, how it performs the evaluations or how it performs the instruction statements, and what is the major difference in between imperative and functional programming language. Okay, thank you all.